If you start thinking what is possible, what is not possible, everything was impossible till we dreamt of it. When I was small, we used to talk about that there is something called telepathy and people talk, and then there was a Star Trek that okay, people can see also, and then people can go there also. Did we ever thought that it will happen in our lifetimes? But it happened because somebody dreamt of it. And look, till the time we dream, nobody is going to make them true.
Welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host Aishwarya Jain, and let's begin with a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Harjeet Khanduja is the VP of Human Resources at Reliance Jio Industries. Harjeet is an international speaker, writer, poet, visionary, and HR leader. Harjeet has set multiple greenfield projects and has handled HR for large multinational organizations in various geographies, including India, US, and Canada. Harjeet's experience spans a range of industry sectors that include automotive, manufacturing, pharma, alternate energy, ITES, telecom, digital, healthcare, and retail, and has worked with business houses like Tata, Reliance, and Piramal. Welcome, Harjeet. We're so thrilled to have you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, Harjeet, let's rewind a little in history. And if you could tell us a little bit, just something about your story. And, did you always want to be an HR professional? What is it that inspires you to excel each day?
Look, my story is a story of a small town boy who kept dreaming. And God kept fulfilling his dreams. That is what my story is. Uh, since childhood, I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be teacher. I wanted to be an event manager. I wanted to write. I wanted to speak. I wanted to help people. I I was fascinated by technology. I wanted to make money. Um, I wanted to be in business. I wanted to contribute to society. So I became a HR guy. So this is like all in one. Um, and that is how I landed in HR. Actually, it was an accident that I landed in HR. I completed my engineering, joined Tata Motors. They placed me in HR. Actually, they placed me in industrial engineering department, which used to report to HR. And as my role expanded, I started loving HR, and that is how I grew. As far as what all things inspire me, anything around me inspires me, and that makes my day lovely. So I hope that was a brief answer.
Of course, and that is it's quite exciting to hear that you as a young boy you could dream and fulfill everything that you ever dreamt of, and that's just it's rare to actually encounter. And I think you're a very people person, since definitely you like HR. So what is it about people that excites you? How do you look at relationships around you?
Look, whenever I look at people around me, I try to see that how I can how I can help them in some way that they enrich their own lives, and that is something which keeps me driving. So my entire motivation comes from people. Uh, how, I don't know. One of my core skill is problem solving. So you give me a problem, and somehow by God's grace, I'm able to solve the problem. Uh, Maybe I am able to look at the problem in a different manner. And that is something which has helped me in helping people. So what happens is, most of the times, if you talk about psychology, you only see what is happening. You don't see what is not happening, which is called perspective. And different people have different perspectives. If you start appreciating perspectives of different people, then you are able to solve problems in a much better manner. So I believe that is something which has been working for me.
Wow, I think it's a gift because it is true that a lot of people, don't understand perspectives, and therefore it leads to a lot of quarrels and fights and a lot of politics, right? And I'm sure you must have seen that in your lifetime.
Yeah, all these things happen. That's what makes you human.
Yeah, that is true. And you're also into poetry. So HR and poetry, and that's a very interesting confluence. So how does your passion for poetry support your passion for HR?
Frankly speaking, poetry has nothing to do with HR. I used to be a kid. I used to watch TV. That time, Hasya Kavi Sammelan was very famous, and I used to see those guys. I was fascinated by those guys, and I got environment where I was asked to write, and I started writing, and I became poet. Like I said, I kept dreaming. I wanted to start something, so I started Council of Technical Scholars when I was, say, in class 12th, and throughout my engineering, I pursued that. So I'm associated with NASCOM because I wanted to be there. I'm associated with CI because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a TEDx speaker, so I worked towards that so that I become that. I wanted to write for Chicken Soup Writer, that Chicken Soup series. So I made sure that I put in efforts, keep focus, and do that. I wanted to be a painter, so I started painting very recently after, say, 44 years of my life. And uh, my wife is surprised, so that's a good thing. I also never knew that I can be a painter. I want to be an author. The thing is, what happens is, you're just looking at poetry, but each and every human being is a full package. So I love HR, I love poetry, I love painting, I love n number of other things. And when you work outside your core domain where you're spending 9 hours or 10 hours every day, that gives your brain a chance to use other parts of the wiring. So when your full brain is functional in pieces, you find that you start thinking out of the box, and that helps you in your day-to-day work. This entire thing helps you build perspectives, and that is why I promote that everyone should do 2 or 3 things which are not related to your business, unrelated things. Start doing something, and you will find you're becoming good and good at your work. The reason behind it is, like they say, you spend 10,000 hours on something and you get skilled on that. If you work on your passion for 10,000 hours, what will happen is, anything you start working on, you will become passionate about that, because what you are fueling is passion. So you get skilled at passion, and that is how it helps.
I think
Mm.
that's a skilled art. So what you're saying is that one must really just follow their passion and give their 110% towards it and have a lot of positive energy, and they will get what they want.
Yep. There is no alternative to hard work. You keep doing hard work, God helps you. You stop doing hard work, then God also starts thinking. So that's what my philosophy is.
Right. And in this process, when you have so much passion to do something, did you also change yourself dramatically so that you could align towards your objective?
Frankly speaking, you cannot change who you are. So you just keep working on, you just keep dreaming that, okay, I want to do this. Moment you see, okay, I want to do this, then what will you do? Since we were talking about painting, so it was not that I thought that someday I will do painting. And then somebody gifted me an easel, couple of canvases, and paints. And I said, okay, I don't know how to paint. What should I do? So I went to YouTube and I started learning. And when I learned, I found that yes, I can learn. I can make a painting. And look, once you paint something, put it somewhere, people like it, then you also feel like it. I made more and more and more. So I believe that is how it goes.
Right. I think these are some tips that anybody can use and they can achieve what they want in life. And that would be phenomenal, if everybody could just work hard towards what the objective is. But also, Harjeet, there are so many distractions nowadays, especially for the young generation, right? They have the video games, and then they want to go outside, they want to go out with friends, and what we see is that they just get lost in the number of choices that they have. So what would you kind of advise them? How should they just put their heads down and focus on one thing?
They should not do that.
Okay.
I am also a video game buff. So I play video games. Look, when you start doing something, so when I play video games, I play them with a mindset that maybe I'm developing a skill. I'm trying to focus. Now, what happens is when you're saying that I want to achieve something, moment you tell somebody, moment somebody is convinced, like you're talking about young people who want to do something, if they have that I want to achieve something, and that something can be anything. Suppose if they say I want to be a TEDx speaker, or um, I want to have say 100,000 followers on YouTube, then you start thinking, okay, how will I get there? And more you think and more you work towards it, that will actually build your focus. The most important thing for somebody to be focused is to get the purpose. All these distractions actually keep the stress away. When I'm too much stressed, either with either one of my passions, I actually go back to video games, play a video game, and then come back. I have also gone through that addiction period of video games, but you should do that once. You should play it to such a level that after that you don't feel like playing. Once you do that, then you have won all those distractions. What happens is you are into something and then your mom will come or your dad will come. They will tell you, oh, don't do this. This is not going to help you in life. So there is a craving which is inside. You waste more number of hours just to make sure that you are taking care of that craving. So first time when I was with a doctor and my wife thought that I will have some kind of blood sugar problem. You know what the doctor did was he gave me a glass of water half filled with sugar and he said, have it. He said, don't stop him from having sugar because if you stop him from having sugar, then he will crave for it. He will cheat. That day I understood, don't restrict yourself. Go for it. You know what is right, what is wrong. After some time, you will feel guilty yourself. And once you feel guilty, okay, this is something which I am not doing right, you will fix it yourself. I can't fix your mistakes. You can't fix mine. I will have to fix my mistakes. You will have to fix yours. So you need to realize what your mistakes are. For that, you need to commit them.
Absolutely. That is such a great way of actually finding your purpose. And Harjeet, they say that attitude beats aptitude. So, when you are in your roles, right, and when you are um, maybe guiding people to select the right talent for some role, do you have some, tips or pointers or any models for behavioral testing that you keep in mind?
You have asked a very controversial question. I will ask a reverse question. Okay, look, I am taking attitude as attitude and aptitude as the knowledge part of it, where you are actually checking the IQ, whether the person has knowledge or a skill, that kind of. So you see KBC, Kaun Banega Crorepati, right?
Yeah.
How much they give? 1 crore, 5 crore, something like that. That is what the prize money is. KBC is purely knowledge based. They ask you a question, whether you know the answer, they give you 4 choices also. Then you think of Indian Idol. Indian Idol is primarily about a skill of singing, or Dance India Dance. It is about a skill of dancing. What is the prize money? 50 lakhs. And tell me a show which is totally about attitude. Roadies, it is purely about attitude. What is the prize money? 32,500 rupees. That is what you end up with. Think, if you see this way, you will find that although we talk about attitude, but we pay aptitude. Society does that. Don't even talk about businesses. Look, you look at jobs. Knowledge-based job. Is a Supreme Court judge? He's a knowledge-based job. There is a pilot who has a skill, who actually flies your plane. Purely skill-based job. No job is purely skill or knowledge or attitude-based. But primarily, the biggest component of pilot is skill. And which is an attitude-based job? That is housekeeping. You just need attitude. How much you pay a judge, how much you pay your housekeeping staff, and how much you pay your pilot? Nothing is. When people say attitude is important, they say because if given that aptitude is same, then attitude matters. If you just play on attitude, then it doesn't mean anything. Like suppose if you want to have cake, one is you can have cake, second is you can put cream on the cake. Now with cream, cake looks much better and it even tastes better. But if I ask you to have only cream, I would not like to have only cream. So attitude is required and aptitude is a must with attitude. That is what we fail to tell. So that is why if you see most of the companies use aptitude based tests, and for attitude, there are tests like you can use 16PF to basically profile people. You can use Big Five. You can use PI. PI is a very good tool, predictive index. So all these tools you can use to, or another piece what you can do is if you want to do behavioral kind of testing, aptitude, attitude kind of testing, go for SBJTs, situation-based judgment tests. You will find that lot of good things will come about uh, the people you are looking at. These tests, especially attitude tests, should not be used for selection or rejection. In fact, they should not be used for rejection. They should be used for probing so that you can have a meaningful discussion in the interviews. That is how I would put it.
Absolutely. I think you've spoken the honest truth that a lot of people would not really, slice and dice and say it. But That's the honest truth that you've put out there, and thank you so much for doing that. Um, Another aspect that I want to touch upon is, the performance management process. Now, do you believe organizations do a good job of it? And there are some managers that are very dreadful about performance enhancement period. So, do you think some kind of a twist can be put to this?
Okay. So you are talking about Hari Sadhus of the world, right?
Yes.
Look, why managers dread this performance appraisal period? It is not because of performance management. Nobody hates performance management. What people hate is rewards management. Now, suppose if I give you 10 rupees and I tell you that distribute it among 100 people, how will you distribute? That is what the biggest problem is. It is not performance is a problem. It is that we mix performance with rewards. I was traveling in a Uber and I saw that the rating of that person was somewhere around 4.9 with 5,000 trips. I was amazed that how can you have such kind of a rating? It is not easy to get. So you know what the guy told me? He said, "Sir, day one, I realized this job is not about driving. Driving is a skill for me to get the job. But this job is about making conversations with people, keeping my cab clean, because that is what people rate me on." Look, he gets his incentive on how many hours he has driven his cab. So your incentive is on efficiency, but your development is on the feedback, which the person gets instantly. And it is specific. You are not keeping your cab clean. And it is not only that you are getting feedback, you also tell good things about this person. Oh, this guy is good at conversation. If you would have seen, those kind of things come up. Now, the problem with, say, traditional performance management is it was not started on a technology platform. It started with pen and paper. So what is attached to it is that first it will get done in pen and paper, so you can't do it on a regular basis, so you will do it on a yearly basis, and then people found, okay, we will digitize it, then people started doing it on a quarterly basis. Thing is, it has to be instant. If you think from a platform perspective, if you can capture feedback instantly, why will you wait for a quarter to happen? And if I do something wrong, I will be most receptive at that point in time about a feedback on that point, and I will be able to improve on it. It is not that people don't want to improve, people want feedback. Thing is, most of the managers are not able to give feedback because even if you form an opinion, if it is not backed with instances that where did you go wrong and why did you go wrong, and the person is able to relate that time I was thinking something else, and the person is able to explain or logically accept that feedback, that helps in developing people or growing people. We say performance management, but we do rewards management. That is where the problem is. I will leave it there.
Absolutely. I so agree with you on this point, and it really tells you that our performance management processes are just so messed up in most organizations. And what you're preaching is, it's really about continuous feedback. And when you talk about feedback, how is it that you give feedback to employees? Is it always constructive feedback, or you're very kind of curt and hard on them that this is what you did wrong and this is how it should be done? What is the process?
What you said, this is what you did wrong, this is how it should be done. That is a constructive feedback. If you just scream and shout that you don't know anything, That is not a feedback. But if you tell somebody, this is what you did wrong, this is how it should be done, that is a constructive feedback. Now, rest everything is tone and emotions and at which pitch you are talking about the whole thing and what are the words you are choosing, whether you are hurting the person or whether you are trying to help the person. Nowadays, when we are talking about platforms, most of the organizations are already planning to bring one or the other platform. And moment you bring platforms, your managers will go away. I'm not talking about any sci-fi movie. Look, there are many platform based. Uber was one of them. Swiggy was another. Urban Club was another. Most of the organizations are removing what you call as managers, the person who is going to allocate you work. They are directly connecting you with your customer through a platform. If manager is not there, then who is going to give you feedback? It is the customer who is giving the feedback on the platform, and without any emotions or any anger or any different kind of words, that feedback is getting passed on to you. And suppose if your rating goes below 3, you are called to the headquarters to get trained that you are doing something seriously wrong. Otherwise, people see their report card and they know what's wrong with them. People know themselves very well. And they know sometimes they need guidance that, okay, how do I improve? If you're able to help and support them in that, they're very happy with you as a manager. So, being a manager is a tough job, but manager as a community, I believe in the age of platforms, you should actually keep it with tigers.
Right, absolutely. And in this process, would there be, especially in areas of HR, would there be certain areas where you think, the application of technology would really make a lot of sense, or automation in a certain sense would really help HR or support HR?
Okay, tell me, can you live without your phone?
No.
You can't. I also can't live without my phone. Look, right now, if you go to Amazon, Amazon recommends you what to buy, right? You go to Netflix, it recommends you what should you see. Don't you want your HR platform to tell you who should you hire? That is something which is coming naturally. Platform based organizations are becoming strong and strong. And more organizations which go for a platform, which is a HR platform, which is going to be an integral part of the business. Going forward, you will not see organizations where that traditional way of doing HR is going on. What happened was when Pizza Hut or say Domino's, they came to India, or in fact they came into being, what they did was they started putting time pressure. But things are fast. You will get your whatever you order, you get in 30 minutes. That was a huge mindset change. Now, how will that mindset change happen? If you're working on platforms, then you can make that happen. Now, if you tell somebody, okay, you need a service letter, kal aana. Can you do that? Guy says pizza comes in 30 minutes. You are telling me kal aana. Can you do that with people? Second is, like, pizza gives you choices. Okay, what kind of cheese, what topping. Now, when you call people inside and you do induction, do you give people choices? Don't give choices. Don't you think it needs to change? Business schools have changed. They give you electives for your post graduation, that you can choose electives. Where are corporates? They need a platform so that they are able to give choices that you want to do your induction. These are the 4 courses which are mandatory. Apart from these, there are 4 more courses. You can complete any 2 of them. Your choice. How will it happen? It will happen on platform. Until unless you put a platform in place, these things are not going to improve. So generally, whenever we talk about technology or AI, people get very fascinated, and everyone is talking about, okay, let's do decision making with AI and automation. So, frankly speaking, my own experience, what I have seen is that AI is most useful to ensure your governance. If you start making, if your AI can check your certificates, if your AI can match the photographs which you have taken at the beginning and which you are taking at the time of onboarding, is the same person joining here? Those are the things which AI can help you very easily. Chatbots is a common place. How you use chatbots is something which you can see. And in many processes, you can use that. In HR, all the areas, whether you talk about recruitment, you talk about talent management, engagement, performance management, or even risks, you can use automation, you can use AI, and you will be very happy doing that.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice. Organizations that adopt these platforms would really they would just free themselves to do tasks that are more about thinking rather than, just doing regular tasks. Um, and, another area which remains a challenge, Harjeet, is employee retention. So even for top organizations, there is something that is amiss. So what do you think, in your opinion, that needs to change here?
Okay, that's a difficult question. Uh, it is difficult because what organizations feel is that people should behave the way they want. The problem is that the society has changed outside. Moment you bring somebody in the organization, the person starts feeling constrained. You want to babysit people. People are not used to babysit. Look, earlier there used to be joint families which used to sit together, eat together, and there used to be a head in the family. Everyone used to touch his feet and say, whatever he will say, that is fine. Our entire society has moved into, I want more independence. I want to live in my small nuclear family. Now you bring somebody into an organization which was actually built on an army philosophy. Organizations work on that army-based org structure, that this is how the hierarchy works. You bring somebody in, that person starts feeling that, oh my God, where have I come? Now this is another big joint family where I have to say yes to most of the things. Like in army, it is not that they don't ask. They ask, they brief you, and then they say, koi shak. Now, point is, you are saying koi shak. Does anyone say, yes, sir, I have a shak? Nobody replies back. That is the culture which organizations have been built from. So that is what the genesis is. But taking that genesis out is very difficult. If you see IT-based organizations which were not built on those organizations or the new generation platform organizations, they don't work in that manner. They have taken their principles from IT rather than taking from army. So that is why there is a distinct difference, and they are able to engage in a relatively better manner. So the rest of the people need to make those changes so that they can catch up with, if they want that kind of talent in their organizations. It is not that people will stop working, people will still work. But if you say, oh, engagement is a problem, yeah, it is going to be a problem because the person is experiencing something outside the company and a totally different thing inside the company. Uh, Google is there. Now, Google is all about asking questions. You ask questions, it answers. So if you have been working on Google all the time, that, oh, I have a question. You go to Google and type. But in your organization, if you can't ask questions, then you are actually creating a contradiction in mind. And most of the times, that is the reason people are not happy, because the experience is different. It is not easy to bridge this gap. So I'm not saying on a which suddenly things will change. But you need to make a path so that you understand these are irritants. And nobody is going to come and tell these to you that, okay, this is what my irritant is, solve it for me. You go inside a temple and you see everyone is going and going down. So you also do that. You go to a church, you see people doing this, so you start doing that. It is not that. So people are not going to say it. Companies will need to understand it, and changing the structure is not that easy, because good businesses, big businesses have been built on certain principles. So moment you start changing that structure, it takes time, but it will happen.
Yes, hopefully it will happen. Definitely, I think organizations are slowly realizing that they can't always, think in silos. They have to expand and broaden their horizons and ask people what is really, happening, what is wrong with them. And there's always also this controversy of how do you determine adequate compensation for talent. So paying higher for the short term for quick business results and inheriting long term issues versus having a structured, a balanced pay approach. So can you shed some light on that?
Let me tell you, suppose you have to go somewhere. Right now it is not a time to go somewhere, but suppose if you have to go somewhere and you need to buy a train ticket, what will you do? You'll go to Tatkal, pay higher, get the ticket, right? So same is the funda with compensation. If you don't plan, or you have got into a situation where you need to go somewhere and you have not planned, so you will have to shell out relatively higher than what you are otherwise doing. Or if you find that there is some competency you don't have inside the organization and you need it from outside, then any which ways companies go to consultants with a particular project or for a particular skill, shell out little bit more money and get that done on a short term. So it is not a new thing which is happening. Where you are absolutely certain, you have planned that, okay, this is the work which is going to be there for the long term. And for this work, I need a person. So it is a make or buy decision that I will do it in-house, because outsourcing doesn't make sense. I will be able to do it at much better compensation inside the organization. So on that basis you take decisions. And look, as far as fair pay is concerned, you would have seen there are multiple models and there are multiple companies which say that, okay, this is how you do job evaluation. You look at the entire gamut of the job, and based on benchmarking study, which like Mercer does, so you get uh, some benchmarks that, okay, this is what my percentiles are and where I want to position myself on uh, on my compensation scale. So if I have a strong brand, I would like to be, say, below 50 percentile, or if I'm going in the market and I'm looking for a particular kind of talent for certain set of roles where I want to position myself, I want to be the benchmark myself. So based on your compensation philosophy and need of the organization, you make those decisions. I believe this is a very scientific area and it works on supply and demand.
Right. I think you just have to strategize well and understand what is your need at that point in time.
Yep.
That makes sense. So, just to wrap this interview up, Harjeet, I'm going to ask you if you have any other important sound bites that you think, the audience would really, get help from.
Look, I would say keep dreaming because that is the only way they can get translated into reality. So dreaming is the most important process which you should have in your life. Um, Look, if we would not have dreamt of going to moon, if you start thinking what is possible, what is not possible, everything was impossible till we dreamt of it. When I was small, we used to talk about that there is something called telepathy and people talk, and then there was a Star Trek that okay, people can see also, and then people can go there also. Did we ever thought that it will happen in our lifetimes? But it happened because somebody dreamt of it. And look, till the time we dream, nobody is going to make them true. So keep dreaming. Maybe God will help you, and your dreams will get converted into reality for you and for a lot of other people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that advice because I think a lot of people just forget about their dreams and, they're drenched in sorrow and they say the future is dark. So it's truly important to start dreaming. And if you have the right, positive mindset, I think like you, everybody else can definitely benefit from that. So
One
thank you.
reason why, before you thank me, I'm sorry to cut you off. Look, one reason why people don't dream, because when we are children, so people ask, what will you do when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a teacher, or I want to be a HR person. Point is, when you become that pilot, after that, nobody asks you what you want to be. So our journey gets limited there. We don't even ask ourselves. And that is why I'm saying dream.
Absolutely, because I think that is very important because, as you said, a lot of people just are very happy and content with what they have once they've achieved a certain, position, and they just think that's the end of it. But as you said, it's important to keep those milestones going always in your life. And you are truly an inspiration, Harjeet, for a lot of people and for myself. So thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you sharing your views with us. Thank you. I've learned so much, and it's been such an enriching and a fun journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.